from the whole team of House Galleria, I would like to welcome Tiago and Marta from Portugal. Guys, firstly, from the whole team of House Galleria, I would like to thank you for being on our podcast, for accepting our invitation, and you are most welcome on this podcast. Would you like to share? Would you like to share a little bit about your studio, your philosophy, and about yourself? Like, how did you came in this world of designing?
Yes, of course. I'll start. Thank you very much, the House of Gallery, for the invitation. We are very honored to be in your podcast. First of all, my name is Tiago. I'm an architect. Marta works. We work together. She's an architect also. We started SUBVERT Studio more or less 6 years ago. I'm owner of two studios, SUBVERT Studio and Rebelo de Andrade. Rebelo de Andrade is my father, and I work with him also, and we do some projects together, me and Marta with Rebelo de Andrade. So we started out being an architecture and design studio. We started in the middle of the worst case scenario. The economic crisis in Europe was really bad, and architecture was really, really bad because the construction was one of the main areas to be torn apart by the economic destruction. Nowadays we are having COVID, and COVID is affecting other areas like hotels, travel, restaurants, but we had the same thing in construction. So when we started SUBVERT, our idea was to have, we had a designer, we still work with him, doing designed products. We felt like there was a lack of architectural studio with a strong design department, because I believe that when we do some type of projects like offices or hotels or restaurants, the design part is really important, so that the whole project would be have the same feeling, the same concept. And we started doing, our first work was a lawyer's office. They invited us to do the design, the branding, and the website. And then they saw that we did architecture. They liked what we did. So they invited us also to do the architecture for their interior design for their office. So we started like that. Then we won some competitions, me and Marta. We won a competition in Coimbra called Portugal dos Pequenitos. It's a children's park done in 1940. It was a park that Portugal was really culturally at that time. How do you say it? Not good. Poor. Yeah, exactly.
And even not all the kids had
education and had the privilege to travel in Portugal. We are a coastal country. We live in the Atlantic, and some of the people in the interior never saw the sea. So that park was done by Cassiano Branco, a really good Portuguese architect from that time. With Bissaia Barreto, it was a doctor. We had there's a foundation now with his name, and they had like a kindergarten for children that were poor and couldn't travel. So they decided to do some small structures imitating the architecture from all around Portugal, from the north to the south, because the north is really different from the south in terms of materials, geographic placement, and they could see how the country would be. It was, and then the park, it's like not a thematic park, but a ludic park, cultural and historical park that has been like that for 50-60 years. So they launched a new competition to do new structures. They want to do like projects from the modern contemporary architecture from Portugal for small children, and they wanted to do a new entrance with a new building for ticket line, restaurants, etc. And then we won the competition. And then we also won a competition in Cascais for a residential project building called Nautic. We can see it afterwards. We just finished it. We have Fernando Guerra. Yeah, I don't know if you know him. It's one of the best Portuguese photographers of architecture. Photo shooting the building. We also did the branding with Diogo that works with us for the building, the signage, everything.
Tiago, you just mentioned that your first project was you did a website for a lawyer and some branding stuff.
Yeah.
So, I am always intrigued by when architects touch different dimensions of the world, because no, if not couple of weeks ago, last month, if you know about Showfields, like they are being renowned as the most interesting real estate, not real estate, retailers in the world. So they have store in New York, and they are doing some really amazing stuff with the retail stores. So now when someone like you, who's a designer and an architect, and who's touching the website, the branding part, like how did it came in your thought, like that you will touch this particular part of the world along with the architecture? Like, was there something beginning from the very beginning in your mind?
Yeah, because at the time, Diogo that works with us in this project is also an architect, but he did a master in one of the best schools in Lisbon of design. So we also adapt I believe that in business you have, everyone is valuable and everyone has his different ways of working. So we have to take advantage of the people that you're working with. If Diogo knows how to design, that's fine. Projects that are the same, that we can work together in design and architecture. And
Yes.
also me, Marta and Diogo at the time, we all took the same course of architecture in Porto, where Sita and Sotomoro came. So there's a really a way of thinking that's the same, and the notion of detail and design from that school. So we all had the same strategy and the same way of thinking.
And do you think that when you have knowledge about different things, like suppose if you are working for a brand which is a fashion brand, and you have understanding of how to make a website, how to do the branding, and you also know how to design the store for them, do you think that you have advantage over other designers because now you have understanding of things like which are gonna bring customers for them?
Yeah, I think it's an advantage because you you know the market, and then you know where how to do the stuff. You know, if you start, for example, in GLC, the lawyers, sorry, the office lawyers, we wanted the branding to be the spirit of the architecture, and the colors would have to be the same. For example, just a small thing like the colors. If we're going to do a branding that is yellow, the space would have to be also something with the yellow, because if we did like a different color, like red and yellow, would be awkward for a lawyer's office. So in that case, it was black, it was easier, but we wanted the architecture also to have the same feeling as the logo and stuff like that.
Yes, I mean, this is so correct, because if I'm sure if someone is doing $1 billion project in Portugal and they fly down someone like maybe David Rockwell from Manhattan, so he will do the first thing is create the brand identity. He will do the store with the same color as the website. And I think this is what more architects and designers should adapt, because this is the right way to go according to me also, that you can provide one more thing to the client.
Yes, of course. Also for us, it's also important to work with the industrial designers, because sometimes we like to, for example, if we are doing a facade for a building, in this case we did Nautic building in Cascais. We we did a ceramic facade with a design, because Nautic, it's the building, it's Cascais is a village near the sea. With tradition to the fishermen, and then we wanted to do a building that would emphasize the sea, not the village, as in how do you say, like we could have been from our point of view in architecture, we always have to try to find something that's connected to the place mark, to the place, to the land, and then we start working from there. Either we see architecture, vernacular architecture, traditional architecture, and we rebrand it, or we do it like in our way, in a modern way, because in contemporary way, you have to have everything is different now, because you cannot do as you did 14 years ago, because you have the fire, you have the permits, you have everything that, for example, a floor plan, you could do it at 2.4 meters before. Now you can, because there are laws that don't allow you to do that, and you have to have AC, air conditioner. You have to have a lot of infrastructures in the building that are different. So Cascais was a small village. It has now some big buildings, but we are constructing on a certain part of Cascais that was really old and beautiful, but we couldn't replicate what was there. And what we did is, okay, this is the point where we want to work with. So if we go to Google Maps, if we do like a 2 kilometers, 5 kilometers circle around the point, what you see most is the sea. So we brought the colors of the sea to the building. And also on the design part, we did a product, because it was supposed to be, it's 28 apartments to sell, and we wanted to tell this history. So the building was inspired in the sea, so it's called Nautic building, and everything we did was to remember the sea. We have the blue from the ocean that's replicated in the ceramic facade, that reflect also when the light is on the facade. It's supposed to replicate the sea that it's doing like this. So you see white and blue colors and waves. And then we have the red color that also we like a lot, boats that sailing boats that are blue and red. And then we got the red line to in some parts of the building. We also have the floor and the entrance of the apartments. We got the flags from the Nautic flags, you know, the ones they used to do to talk with each other, and each apartment has its own flag for the sea. So design was really important for this building also, and it's not like a branding, but for a lawyers or a restaurant, but it's for a residential building.
But here, I think we seek for the heritage, the cultural heritage, yes, as well.
Yeah.
And that's where I think we got the best of this job. Is we found the concept that was this cultural heritage, the sea, the colors and the waves, and we could manage to bring it to our project from macro scale to micro scale. Yeah. That's how it worked, because communication and what you were saying, the flags and the doors and the communication on the building, it's all around the same concept. That's how, that's why I think it worked so well.
Yeah. Also, it's really important, because most of the times as architectures, we here in Portugal, we learn in the universities, we study architecture as in the point of view of the one that is drawing the building, and not as one as that is selling the building and it's for someone, or doing or selling the building. For example, most of the times I think there are very good architects that don't know how to sell their product. So the design is also important, and the communication and marketing for you to sell your project to a client. So branding and designing is also important, because when you do a presentation, we have to have that way of thinking, that what are we going to show our client that is going to convince him to do this building, that it's an important part for us.
That is so true, because you know, so many times when we look at so many architecture practices, this thing is constantly missing, because they don't have this particular substance of how to convince the client. And not just this, because when you are doing a commercial project, like you have to sell 28 apartments to 28 clients, then you have to add something unique in those 28 apartments, so that it will be easier for your client to sell. Tiago, my question is that like, do you put some conscious thought or conscious effort on building this side of your practice, that you have this constant edge over others, that you are unique with the branding, you have those ideas so that you can help your client to sell their apartment easily? Like, do you constantly work on updating or improving yourself on this side?
Yes, of course. I think what we do also here is we listen. Listening is a really important part of our office, because nowadays you cannot do the work alone. You have to have people working with you. Before, and traditional architects in Portugal that are really good, it's their hand that draws the building, and nobody else in the office puts their hand on the project. And I had 2 or 3. I'm always learning, and me and Marta in meetings with clients, because we work with clients that have a lot of money, and others that don't have a lot of money that want to do housing. And you learn, because in one day we had a project, a design project, with this really multimillionaire Brazilian guy that is really, really nice. And you understand why he's rich, because he's like this: okay, you're going to show me the branding, and he's in a room full of with 10 people that he trusts. And then he's like this: okay, show me your project. We show them, and then he's like this: okay, now you, what do you think about the presentation? And you, what do you think about the presentation? So in the end, he only says what he's thinking when he listens to everybody. Understand what I'm saying? So for us, it's also important to have different, because we also have a partner, Jose. He studied engineering, and he did the MBA, and he does the business of the office. So it's also a really important part of our office, because also he manages the office, the money, and also it's important because he sometimes has the mindset of the people that we are selling the project. So we all talk, what are you going to show? Is this correct? Do you think they understand it? So it's like that.
Is it possible, because I'm so curious about the project which you guys mentioned, about those 28 apartments which you designed. So if you can explain me a little bit about the process, that how you compiled all the elements, and how that project is unique from the other projects happening in the neighborhood.
Okay, we can show you also images.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. That if you can share the images, and while sharing images, you can explain me the process. That okay, this is how you did the composition of entire project.
Okay. This is the building that we're talking about in Cascais. It's done with panels, that rotative panels, the facade, with the cobogosh. It's a type of ceramic that we draw the ceramic to because we had the client wanted to have big screens of glasses, but in Portugal people don't really like to be so exposed, and we also have the problem of the sun, of the heating. So it's also an important thing about our projects. It's the sustainable part of the building. Not sustainability, like having solar panels, it's not enough for us. You also have to have studies of the sunlight to see if the project doesn't spend a lot of energy. We also, if we can, we also like to incorporate materials that are from the region. The facade was done in ceramic, and the factory is in Portugal. We designed the pieces, the models, and they produced it. So we had 2 buildings here. This is 2 towers, more or less. It's for our scale, it's 2 towers. But
yes.
yeah, this began by a competition done by the city hall in Cascais for investors. And there was an investor that I know that was part of the shark. He was a shark in Shark Tank Portugal. And he entered our office one day and said, help me, we have 1 week to deliver a competition so that I can buy the plot land to do a building here. I want to do apartments, restaurants, and in the center of Cascais. So we did this competition in about 1 week. We won the competition, and then the project is a little different from what began, because we didn't have a lot of time at the time to evaluate and to study the site. And the building, we have like a minimum area and that we could construct. So it's So for the project to be also profitable for the investor. So we had a lot of constraints for the project because we didn't have a lot of terrain and we had a lot of area for that terrain. So we started dividing the project, working on a process. We also work in BIM, building information modeling in ArchiCAD, that help us also studying the whole project. So this is an image that we are seeing. It's a view from the street. We have two buildings. These facades. We have these facades that open, and then even though that you think that the building is completely closed from the outside, giving privacy, when you are in the inside, people always admire it because it's normal in architecture. You like it or not. One of the complaints that we listen in the street is that it's all closed, you don't see nothing. But when you are in the inside, you see everything. It's completely different. And when people that say this, and then we invite them to to see the interior of the apartments, they were like, whoa, I didn't have the idea that you can see everything from here. Because we did this properly, because also the ceramic pieces for the facade, they do like this 45 angle, and they are putting in a certain way that you you don't have the sun directly entering the apartments on the summer, and from when you are in the bottom, you don't see what's happening in the apartment. But if you are in the apartment, you can see everything at front. This is the entrance of the apartment. And then this is the thing that I was saying. This is the entrance to the apartments, and then we have the flag. In this case, it wasn't complete, but all the flags. One is C, other one is D, and then each flag it's corresponding on the sea. This is a 3D. I'm not quite sure if this flag represents the sea, but it's all it's correct in the how it is built now. And then we also have the door handles that we got some door handles that look like the ones where you tie the knots in the boats, and a lot of details that we try to incorporate in the building. This is a view from a T0, one bedroom apartment, open.
A loft.
A loft, yeah, a loft. So when you open the doors, you see these panels like this. Let me open this is better. This is a view from a 2-bedroom apartment with an open kitchen to the living room. Also the blue, we picked the blue that it's called navy blue. Some details are different in the construction site because then you have to adapt everything to the project, and then there are the budget constraints during construction, so you change some things, but in the end the project is almost the same as the 3D images. This is the bedroom, and this is then we have 4 apartments on the rooftop. There are 3-bedroom apartments, and each apartment has its own rooftop, because in this image you don't see, but behind these buildings it's the sea, and you have a nice view from that. In Portugal, in our projects, I can show you afterwards. We can show you Portugal niche. Portugal is really connected to the sea. We were one of the first countries to travel by boat to India. So we were the ones that connected in a certain way.
Yes, we have a lot of Portuguese style buildings in the west part of India, in Goa. We have a lot of Portuguese style buildings.
And we traveled a lot at the time, so we are really connected to the sea. Not as we wish anymore, but before we were. Portugal is one of the countries. We are a very small country, but we are one of the countries with one of the biggest areas in Europe, because we have the sea area, part of the Atlantic. If you see the how do you say, our boundaries are not just Portugal, because we have Açores, the islands, we have Madeira, so we have a lot of part in the Atlantic Sea. So it's this one. I can show you also pictures from Portugal.
Sure. And if you allow me to ask, like, how like usually in 1 year, like do you have certain number of competition you always participate, or it is just random on the decision you just make whatever competition is coming, or you have something in mind that okay, every year we will participate in at least 3 competition or four competitions? Do you have something like that?
Competitions are really difficult, because I think there are a lot of good architects nowadays with also with the 3Ds and renders. We can all do amazing stuff. So we try to pick some of the competitions that are interesting for us, either because of the program, or also because sometimes we get invited for closed competitions. That ones are easier, because sometimes you get 5-7 competitors, so the probability if you won, it's divided by the competitors. In an open competition, I think it's really difficult to win, because you see a lot of international competitions that I see in the internet, and in the 5 first places, all of them are interesting. I don't see how you can pick from one of them. So I think it's also a matter of luck, if the jury is nice to your project, or it's really difficult, international competitions. I don't believe that for me, it's really difficult, because it's a mixed feeling. I love the competition, because you can see how you are to your competitors, but it's also difficult because we are one of the only areas that to win projects we have to do competitions and work for free.
Yes, I mean this is the only thing that with competition, the only advantage you have is that if you win the competition, then you will not just have the building, but you will also have a name for yourself and for your studio, and that gives a lot of reputation, that adds a lot of credibility to the studio, that okay, you have won these many competitions and you have done these many amazing projects. But other than that, competitions are really difficult for studios, because you have to, most of the time studios don't win competition, but they put a lot of effort in that.
Yeah, and most of the times when you see closed competitions, they go and build it. And open competitions, most of the times here in Portugal, it's like from 90% of the competitions they launch, you never see the projects being done. So sometimes it's just for a political matter. They want to show the project and say that they are doing something to correct, like an hospital or something, but you never see it done, the light of day. So for me, it's also important, because that's sometimes, you know how it is. You have clients that come to us and say, you help me here, and let's see if we can do this. I need your help to do this. Okay, but how much money do you have to build the project? And he's like, I don't know. But you can help me. You have to do like this project so that I can show it to investors. And I'm always like that. If you don't have money to pay the expense of a project, you don't have money to build it. So you lose a lot of time with this type of clients. So that's an important thing that we are trying not to do. It's when you have a client that shows up with something that he doesn't have, we like to be honest and say like this, okay, I'm sorry, but from our experience, from the 20 projects that we already done in this way, none of the projects went ahead. So we don't waste time with that type of projects.
Yes, and I mean, there should be, you know what, because as a House Galleria, like we are building this community of designers, and we always put this thing on the priority, because you, like, I'm sure you also know this, that you are not the first studio who is sharing this experience. Like, it happens a lot every day with a lot of designers, that they are doing work like this, and this problem is happening with them.
Yeah, we don't have rules, because if you see here, I don't know how is the rest of the world, but here in Portugal, lawyers have some type of rules when they charge projects. Doctors have some type of rules, but architectures and designers, they don't have it. It's like Far West.
And please go ahead, the other project which we can go through.
Marta can show you talk a little bit about Portugal dos Pequenitos. Let me see if I can find here the projects. But we can.
Não, mas as imagens.
Ainda estão. This is the project that we're talking about. Like, do you want to explain?
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, this is a competition that we work with for Portugal dos Pequenitos. It's it was a competition me and Marta worked on
In 2016.
2016. Bureaucracy is also an important part of our work, because for the city halls here, it's a lot of bureaucracy that we have to fill out, and projects take like 4 years, 5 years, and it's really difficult, because when you start doing the project, the client's expectation is going to pay a certain amount for the construction of the building. But then things, for example, when we started this project, it was after the crisis, and prices were really low. And now prices double or triple the price of construction. So it's really difficult for the client to sometimes to understand that he had a certain amount of money to do the building, and now it costs the triple. So, but this, I'm going to return to the project. This is a competition that we won also. Portugal dos Pequenitos, as I explained before, me and Marta, have buildings all around Portugal and from different epochs and time of line of East Portuguese history. And then they have a part that is connected also to the discoveries of Portugal. There are buildings that a building that is from India, a building that is from Africa, a building that is from Brazil. And then on this building, we wanted to do something that would connect children to our history, and also to connect them to the sailing boats of Portugal there that travel. Also to the origami. You know origami, the thing that children play with. So we did a building like this for them to have something that connects to the aspects of children. This park is particularly interesting because nowadays most of the visits come from people that went with their fathers, and then they are showing to their sons. They're like, it's like a thing that they do. It's in memory. Like I remember coming here with my grandfather or with my mother. Now I'm going to take my children. They don't go there because the children wants to go. They go there because it's something that's remnants of their children life.
Yes, and also Portugal dos Pequenitos means Portugal for the little ones, as in for the kids to learn all about the cultural heritage of their country, knowing that this was made in the 40s, so it's not quite updated. So that was one of the things in this competition. Of course, as Tiago said, they wanted to do new buildings of this modern architecture that we have in right now, like Cisa Vieira and Sotomora, yes. And we had this new entrance to think about, and we wanted also to explore the idea of curiosity. As in, you are a kid, you're going to this park and you are going to explore it the same way as we explored the world in the 15th and the 16th and 17th centuries. And it's like this idea of travel. Okay, we are going on this new
adventure.
adventure. Yes, and that's why we decided to draw these.
Sails.
Yeah, sails like the boat, and,
Yeah.
and when you are inside the building, you are in the boat, and that's how your
Begin your
journey. Your adventure. Yeah.
Exactly.
Always based on this idea of curiosity.
Guys, there is one thing which I want to ask, because since you guys just showed me two projects, and I'm like, one thing which is coming again and again in my mind when I'm looking at your project is that you have a very nice way of telling the story of the project to the people who are gonna stay. Can you please explain me a bit if you have something like that in mind when you design the project?
Yes. Let me see if I understand your question again. But when we start also, because Marta is one of the fantastic things of Marta also working with us is her knowledge of history also. And then when we are delivering the project, we also investigate a lot. And then we do a part that we want to tell the history in a certain way. So when we do our competitions, there's a huge part, because when you deliver like 3 panels with the project idea, we give a lot of emphasis to the historic part of the building. We know that we are going to build the history of the project. For example, we deliver the competition this week that we've done with Rebelo de Andrade for a mixed-use project with residential, senior age housing, an hospital for the people that are dying, commercial and restaurants and other stuff like that. So we try to in our minds, and also show in the project by a formal text explaining a history how you're going to live there. We put ourselves 10 years from now or 20 years from now and see what would be like living here. When we are building something, I like to think that I'm going to be there in the next 10 years to see how the building is, how the living is. Because here in Portugal, we say that the doctors hide their mistakes. The architects have to live with their own. So what we do, it's really important, because we are going to be connected to that building until it ends. Our buildings last a lot longer than us.
Yeah.
They are going to stay there for 100, 200, 300, 400. Notre Dame is built for 900 years. And it's still there. So it's really important. It's like giving a part of you to history. So also we believe that it's true. We are maybe only one of the professions in the world that it's more democratic. What you're going to build there is going to be seen by other people. We talk a lot about pollution, like air pollution, noise pollution, but we don't talk a lot about visual pollution. There are a lot of visual pollution nowadays.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is a very interesting topic, what you just mentioned, visual pollution. And you know what? If as an architect, if as designers, we can understand this thing, that visual pollution is one of the biggest thing which is going on in the world of designing, because people are just making anything, and there has to be beautiful buildings, there has to be beautiful visuals to make you feel happy, because we don't realize that most of the things in our body comes to the sense of our eyes. So please go ahead with what you were mentioning about visual pollution.
Yeah, because it's everywhere, because nowadays I think you have a lack of importance for people that create. I think people who scream more are the ones that are being listened. People who show up in TV, in television programs, getting naked or stuff like that, are more important and are famous than creators, than designers, than scientists. And also, I think it's really important to listen to those people. They are the ones that are building the future. They are the ones that are listening to the aspects of living. Nowadays you have like the COVID, the pandemic, and the only cure you have for the pandemic is to stay at home. And homes are built by architects. So what kind of world are we constructing? What kind of world do we want? What kind of world do architects can leave their mark or can improve? And it's lacking people that listen to architects and designers. When you see talking about problems in the world, you never listen to an architect talking about problems in the world. And it's really important to listen.
Yeah, I would also like to add about your question, the story that we tell in the building. One of the things that we learned in our school in Porto, and especially Sotomura, he talks about this a lot, is how you can bring other disciplines and study them into architecture. Like he does a lot of that with music, and one thing that I find most important was a book that I read. I don't know if you read it. It's 6 Walks in the Fictional Woods, I think, from Humberto Eco. And he talks about how we should address to art as we that build it and the one who goes to visit it. And these 6 walks on the fictional woods are made with a story that is not perfect, it's not closed, it has infinite possibilities. And in the end, we don't write the story, but the person who goes to visit and goes to see the art writes the story himself. So there's a lot of this relation that we need to build and we need to create, and this image, this ambient that we need to create so the others can live it. And if we don't imagine it and if we don't think about it, I don't know if the people who will visit the building will ever see it. So it's that's why we always work on this, creating also this image.
Also in the
identity.
Also when nowadays we all talk about sustainability. Good design is it's always sustainable.
Yes.
Yeah, you have buildings that, for example, we have a very good building here in Lisbon. Then it's Fundação Carlos Gulbenkian. It was done 50 years ago or so, more or less. And it's one of the best buildings to work on. It's a foundation, as offices, as art galleries. But if you go there, you say, I want to work there. I wish I'd live here. So that's sustainable. That's good architecture, good design, good sustainability. And if you also, a little bit talking about what I was talking before, when you travel to another country, what you're going to see, it's the architecture and the landscaping. So architecture is an added value to the country also, because geography is it's has to be beautiful. Nowadays, Portugal, for example, has a lot of tourists. They come here for the landscape, to see the beaches, the ocean, but also for the architecture. Also, if you like, because we do the project one time, we won our money one time when we do the project, but the project, I was saying that here in downtown, for example, you have a lot of old buildings, really beautiful ones, that a lot of people won money with him. They sold it one time, they rebuilt apartments, they sold it 2 times. So it's sustainable also, because history can be sustainable. But when you're doing architecture, you have to have the notion that you're building history. People will going to live there in the next centuries. So the building is going to be good. If for the next centuries, it can be adaptable for all the situations.
This point is very nice what you mentioned, that if we think about good buildings are always sustainable. So this what we can say, that campaign which is being run by so many authorities, so many organizations, that sustainable building, green buildings. So the good building is always sustainable. You are completely right with that. And I have one question, like how much do you use technology in your day-to-day process, and how much do you think that technology helps you in designing your projects?
Technology.
Technology like BIM, for example.
Yeah.
BIM, building information modeling, it's been really helpful for us because nowadays everything is much more faster. Like my father is also an architect. He says that when I started doing projects, I used to hand draw the projects, and when I did a line, I had to think forward because I didn't want to repeat the drawing again, because if I did a mistake with a pen, I would have to do the whole drawing. So nowadays everything it's really like intuitive, and everybody thinks it's easier because you change a wall and it's quick on the screen, but most of the times you're not thinking about it. So technology is really good, but you have also to stop and think what you're doing. BIM helps us a lot because you can work on the project and it's three-dimensional. What you're doing on a floor plan in the 0 floor, you are already seeing it on the 2nd floor. So yes, I think it's like you had before you would draw the project, so you think about it after when you're doing a line. Then it started showing up the first softwares like AutoCAD and so on, with software that help you draw. But as it was easier to draw, it was easier to do mistakes. And BIM helps us, the 3Ds, not to do mistakes. Like everything is connected. Also, if you have the engineering parts of the project, when you do the project, everything is connected. You get the team that's working on the AC, you see everything that's going on the project. So also when you go to construction sites and when you get the pricing, it's really hard to make mistakes, and it's easier for the builder or for the owner of the project to negotiate the pricing with the construction teams, because he knows exactly what he's getting.
If I can ask about a little bit about your studio, like how big your team is, like how many member of team you have in your studio?
Now we are 4, but
Okay.
We have 2 designers that work with us, and also because we are hand to hand with Rebelo de Andrade, that are more 10 people. So we adapt. In some projects we are working like 1 people, and other projects working on 14 people. For example, this competition that we delivered last week, we were 15 people working.
Okay, so you have collaborated with other people to do some projects. And,
yes.
and how important do you think as a designer is to collaborate not just with other designers but with other artists, with other technologists? Do you think that there is a significance, or there is an importance of collaboration in architecture when you are doing a project?
Yeah, it is. For example, in this project that we work and deliver, you get different people from different schools and different ideas, and also they learn different technologies. For this project we work with ArchiCAD, and then we did the renders with Twinmotion, and we improved a lot in Twinmotion because everybody was like this. And then other softwares that we work with, for example, the engineering had to buy a software to measure the terrain that we are going to move or not, and then you improve it, you get better at it. And then as you know more technology, you don't have to know. For example, if you are head of architecture in your office or something like that, you don't have to know exactly how to work with Twinmotion in perfection, but you have, or ArchiCAD, but you have to have notions that when you talk with the people that you're working with, you know what you're talking about, and you can demand, okay, you can do better than this.
And if I can ask you about, like, do you always think of yourself when a client is like if I can ask you a little bit about the process, like how do you initiate any project? Suppose if I'm a client and I'm coming to you, so what is your process of what you always follow? Do you start with the questioning? Do you start with the research? Like how do you start any project, like which is common with all the projects? What's your process?
We start with the site.
Yes.
We always have to know where we are building, and because we don't build in an imaginary space, we always have to know the morphology. I don't know if it exists of the terrain of the site.
Yes. And also the laws of the site.
Yes, and then also the what can we build, where can we build, and because it's
At
the city hall
at
has always a lot to say about what you can do or not in a specific site.
Also, the program in competitions are easier because you have like more freedom to work with the program and to work with the type of project. When you have clients, most of the time they come with an idea of a program, and they have an idea of the house they want. So most of the times it's really difficult to do exactly what they want and what they need because of the constraints of the site and the laws, and also because sometimes people think they are architects and they aren't, and then
that's what I didn't need an architect. You wouldn't call it.
Most of the times we say to our clients, this house is not for you, sorry. But it is, but it is not, because it's going to be his project and until he lives there, because we all die. And then the project is going to last for other people. So we cannot only be concerned about the client's needs, but we have to be concerned about the building that is going to stay there. So that's a big responsibility.
Yes, and I think as an architect, you have a huge responsibility, because as you mentioned earlier in this podcast, that someone is going to make a very huge investment, and that's a huge responsibility, because most of the time we don't make this kind of investment 50 times in our lifetime. It's probably one or maybe twice or thrice. So as an architect, you carry this very huge responsibility of designing something for people who's going to last for maybe 3 generations of their family.
Yeah, exactly.
So guys, now we are in the last part of our podcast. So this is the part in which we play one short game. Let's begin. London or Paris?
London or Paris? London.
Okay. Contemporary or modernism?
Modernism, because you can see it from now. Contemporary, you're living it.
Okay. And Zaha or Norman Foster?
Norman
Foster.
Okay. BMW or Mercedes?
BMW.
Okay. Okay. Last question: whiskey or vodka?
Vodka.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. With that said, it was very nice talking to you. I really enjoyed a lot.